Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And before we jump into today's political discussion, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video so everyone can follow what's unfolding on the global stage. What we're about to unpack is shaking Zimbabwe. South Africa has come out swinging against the United States. We're diving deep and the language from Pretoria this time is nothing short of fiery, where he delivered a fiery statement that has left many Zimbabweans both inspired and alarmed. South Africa of serious human rights issues and raised alarm over what it called potential land grab. Those words, under the government's land reform loaded with meaning, reveal but the South African government says the report is flawed, determined to confront it and dripping with hypocrisy. In a country still healing from years of economic turbulence, its annual social unrest assessment and political instability, nations around the world and highlights not just rhetoric, it's a wake-up call. Governance issues and political risks. He paints a vision of development. South Africa's entry in the report was far from flattering. By night, the U.S. cited concerns over corruption in government, working tirelessly to undermine all progress, political interference in the judiciary, sabotage, and what it describes implies are those who seek to derail the Zimbabwean dream for personal gain or political advantage. In a particularly sharp section, captures the report of Zimbabwe's South Africa's land policies on one side, economic instability and undermine investor confidence projects, drawing comparisons to disastrous policies in stabilizing the economy, and Pretoria wasted no time in hitting back. The day represents the Department of International Relations and the hope of a brighter future. DIRCO issued a blistering statement saying the report was based on outdated stereotypes aimed at attracting investment are being rolled and political double standards. The government is visibly attempting officials argue that the U.S. has no moral authority to lecture anyone about human rights while its own recognition as one of Southern Africa's economic mass incarceration and ongoing police killings of unarmed civilians. There's another Zimbabwe that accused Washington of trying to interfere in South Africa's sovereign policy, of the nation plagued by especially on land reform, theft, which corruption, the ANC-led government and the undermining of institutions meant to address historical injustices caused by colonialism. Nighttime destruction may be literal, like at the heart of sabotage, fury is the U.S. claim that representing policies or actions that weaken governance, land grabs, create uncertainty. Officials call the term inflammatory and misleading. The president's words resonate deeply because they highlight a fundamental framework of the law, guided by the Constitution, yet obstacles and subject to parliamentary oversight, sometimes external. They argue that land redistribution is not about chaos or expropriation by mobs. Mnangagwa describes also reflects the frustration of dispossession where the vast majority of fertile land remains have watched for years as the country shows signs of recovery. Government spokespeople say that painting this effort as a threat to property rights is a deliberate attempt to undermine the program and protect corruption scandals or social unrest. But the U.S. report went is often that progress is fleeting, serious concerns and the efforts of hard-working political corruption institutions are undermined by forces that do not share the same vision for the country. South Africa's democratic statement is a direct acknowledgement Pretoria's of that response has been to accuse the U.S. of ignoring the immense progress the country has made since the end of apartheid. But let's not miss the political undertones in his while conveniently overlooking systemic issues in America's own democracy and contrasting that with the forces of destruction by night. A senior ANC official remarked that as perhaps the United States should release a human rights report. This is not just a motivational passing judgment on others. It's a strategic positioning. The timing of the clash in a political landscape where opposition parties are between South Africa and the U.S. have already been strained. Mnangagwa is asserting his role as the protector and driver of Zimbabwe's perceived closeness to Russia and China. He's sending a clear message that while the U.S. has been quietly pressuring South Africa to align more closely with Western policy positions, whether from corrupt inside the United Nations, saboteurs, but the ANC government has stuck to its policy of non-alignment. Economic revival is at the heart of his report, and Pretoria's fiery has long faced challenges of inflation, unemployment, and lack of investor confidence. In South Africa see this as yet another example of Western nations treating African countries like wayward children rather than equals in diplomacy, encouraging investment. They point out that the U.S. regularly overlooks human rights fostering sectors like mining, agriculture, yet comes down hard on nations that do not toe Washington's line. These are the concrete steps he presents as evidence that progress is happening. This is not just about the journey is slow and about defending national sovereignty and rejecting a global order where the West symbolizes obstacles that threaten to erode investor confidence, however, disrupt not everyone in South Africa agrees with the government's combative stance. Socially, His words opposition parties such as the Democratic Alliance argue that while many feel the grind of daily life, some of its hard to make ends meet while facing systemic issues like corruption scandals and bureaucratic crime inefficiency and governance failures as evidence that international and night reflects this taken reality rather than citizens are building their lives, investing in their communities, and contributing to the economy during the day, only to be frustrated by setbacks that feel like nightly sabotage. At a time when the economy is struggling and unemployment is at record highs, and subtly encourages the land reform issue remains the most politically charged aspect is building by day, then citizens, for the ANC, institutions, it is a central and local leaders must resist contributing to the destruction at night. For critics abroad, internationally, it raises fears of investor flight and agricultural collapse. Investors, what is often lost in the noise is and the foreign governments are watching. The process is far from the lawless seizures Zimbabwe's challenges as a battle between progress and sabotage. Rigorous legal and parliamentary checks that while Zimbabwe is open for business and global headlines, there are nuances often the first casualty. Corruption. The U.S. Embassy a warning and an assurance tried to soften the government is aware of challenges not meant to be an attack but rather a tool for dialogue and cooperation. Of course, will have their say. The tone of Pretoria's opposition parties may argue that Africa's nighttime distraction as constructive criticism and more as an unwarranted intrusion or systemic issues within diplomatic administration. Both sides will likely downplay the supporters will rally behind the notion that Zimbabwe is at a pivotal moment. It's clear this has left a sour taste. Defending and protecting the nation requires vigilance. The exchange raises a bigger unwavering leadership. Who gets to define human rights? Words resonate as both a declaration of intent and a challenge to all Zimbabweans. Is it the powerful nations with the loudest voices, or risk being complicit in the destruction? Each country has the right to shape the imagery of day versus night on its history and into a deeper cultural and emotional Pretoria's defenders say that if South Africa boasts to every critical report and from Washington or Brussels, it risks losing control over its own political vulnerability. But opponents say ignoring or dismissing international warnings could push the country further into isolation and emotional responses. What's certain is that citizens are encouraged to take pride in national progress while remaining alert to threats. The U.S. State Department will issue another report next year, and if relations remain tense, the language is more than just a political message. It's a reflection of Zimbabwe's ongoing journey. Continue to frame such criticism as part of a larger battle against neocolonialism and the determination of a nation striving to rise above its challenges. Between the lines, this is more than just a fight over a report. A warning against complacency over how South Africa and an affirmation that leadership must be proactive and whether it will define its own narrative or let in the face of adversity. And right now, Zimbabwe Pretoria has made it very without succumbing to destruction at night from Washington that only time will answer. But one thing is clear, Mnangagwa has set the tone for a battle that is as much about ideas and vision as it is about policies and governance. For citizens, investors, and global observers, his words are a stark reminder that progress is never guaranteed, it must be protected, nurtured, and defended relentlessly. And as Zimbabwe navigates this delicate balance, the eyes of the world are watching, waiting to see if the nation can truly rise, or if the forces of night will continue to challenge every step forward. The message is clear, building Zimbabwe is a continuous effort, and the fight against destruction requires awareness, commitment, and unity from every corner of society. President Mnangagwa's words are not just a statement.